Hey guys, I'm Phil Harris.
And I'm Ashley Harris.
We are Shred MX Conditioning, and we provide online fitness and nutrition coaching, as well as in-person riding clinics for riders and racers from local to pro.
Now, we're racers ourselves, so we'll be talking about all things moto on this channel, from motocross, fitness and nutrition, injury, prevention and maintenance, local races, amateur nationals, pro events, current happenings in the sport, and everything in between. So whether you're on the road or in the garage, turn it up and enjoy.
This is Shred MX Shop Talk. Hey guys, welcome back to the old podcast. We're here with episode 11. It's been about a month since our last one. Not for the lack of trying, I guess, but we've just been busy. We were on
a 3-week adventure.
Yeah, 3-week adventure. We went down to Florida 2 weeks before Loretta's, and then left Florida in that middle week and headed to Loretta's, and then we were there for about a week and a half, and then we came home. So, and then we've been home for close to a week now and trying to get everything cleaned up and organized back together. And yeah, it's been a wild ride, and we want to just cover everything we kind of did and went through and experienced and stuff. And if there's a bunch of background noise, guys, we're coming from our front porch today, so you might hear a little bit of background noise, but yeah, here we are, episode 11.
We're enjoying the birds and the bugs and the breeze.
Yep.
Enjoying it all. But yeah, I wanted to recap our Florida experience, kind of our prep, or what we could prep before Loretta's and then Loretta's, just as racers, as fans of the sport and everything. So should be a good one. Might be a little longer than normal, but that's another reason it's taken us a minute to sit down and do this, is just finding time anymore to carve out an hour or two of our day to get these done is quite a challenge. But here we are, putting it on for you guys. So our initial reason for going to Florida was because of the Pax summer camp. Pax Trax does a summer camp every year. This is the second year that we've got to attend as coaches. It was July 16th, 17th, and 18th.
Yeah.
And we headed down the Sunday before, so that would have been July 14th that we left.
Yeah. Yep. That would be correct. Yeah, last year we did it was June. This year they bumped it back to July, which made it even toastier than it was last year when we did it. So, but it was good because we got a little bit of the heat and everything before Loretta, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, we headed down there, and we know the Harrises that run Pax really well, and they invite us down for the second, it's technically their third year doing it, but it'd be our second year of coming down. They enjoyed having our company last year to help train, so we got invited back, which was a good time. And yeah, it was a really fun camp. It was a little bit lighter than it was last year, but overall we had a blast. There was a really good group of from really young kids to older adults, so we had a good time. Yeah,
and I actually wanted to, before we talk about the camp, I wanted to talk a little bit about the way down there.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because it was the first time we
an adventure.
Yeah, first time we took the camper with our van. So we have a Ford Transit 350 van, all graphicked out with Shred. And the camper that we have, we weren't able to take it to the regional at Redbud because we didn't have a hitch that would lift it tall enough. So we went to Harbor Freight, got us a $200 weight distribution hitch that would rise the ball for it to sit on, so it would bring the nose of the camper up. We had not driven it anywhere except around the block to make sure it was okay, and sent it on the 13-hour trip to Florida, van and camper, just hoping that everything worked out okay. It did. It was fine, actually. The van towed it great. But on the way down, I didn't necessarily think about this. So we left Sunday. We were planning to stop somewhere and sleep, maybe Carolinas, Georgia, and get up on Monday and make it the rest of the way there. Well, we got into South Carolina, and it was late, 10 o'clock, after driving all day. Started pouring, so I'm like, okay, we need to stop now. Like, I always end up driving in the rain, it seems like, at nighttime.
Yeah, it never fails.
And I hate driving at nighttime, and I hate driving in the rain. Combine them together, terrible. But just a downpour. So pulled over at a rest stop, and then it hit me that wherever we were stopping to camp, we weren't going to have electric for the camper, and we're in the Carolinas, so it's hot now. So we slept, it was probably like 80 or 85 degrees and muggy because it was raining. So we just popped the windows open in the camper and slept at a little rest area in South Carolina. We got good enough sleep, but I just didn't think about that because it's cool enough at nighttime up here that it wouldn't have been a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, thank God it was raining because that's the only thing that cooled it off like a little bit.
Yeah.
And we had this little baby fan hung up on like the one cabinet above us, and we had it pointed at us for a little bit of air. But yeah,
Airflow.
otherwise it was pretty muggy, but we made it work, and we woke up the next day too. And so let me back up a little bit. Before we had pulled off that rest stop, while we were I was still driving earlier on, some people had rolled up next to us, and they were saying something, so I rolled the window down, and the guy's like, "Your tires are bouncing." And
On the camper.
On the camper. And I was confused. I was like, okay. I was like, I have some weight back there, so I figured that,
kind of normal.
It's kind of normal, like no one else had said anything, like nothing. So I didn't think too much of it. And yeah, we finished up the drive, and then so make it to the rest stop, sleep. We get up the next day, and Ashley had you had pumped the tires up
before we left.
Yeah, just make sure everything was where it should be. So we were like, okay, well, maybe once we got down into the Carolinas, and with it being a lot hotter, maybe it just gains a bunch of pressure, and they were a little stiff, so they were bouncing. So you went out to check them, which I'm super thankful you did, and we had a couple tires that were failing on us. They were actually starting to split.
Yeah, so like usually, and I checked the tire pressure, it wasn't anywhere it shouldn't have been. It was right where it was supposed to be. So like usually with a tire, you've got the sidewall and the flat part where the tread is. Well, whatever was happening with these tires, they were failing. The flat part where the tread is was completely rounded, and the tires looked like balloons.
Yeah, you even checked them, and the tire pressure was where it should be. But yeah, they did. They looked like they were ballooning, like super bad.
And I felt the top of the one, and the tread was splitting, so I could feel the cords through it. And initially, I thought we ran something over. I'm like, oh no, like we'll find a tire place up the road. Like at least I checked. But when they pulled them off, it was actually doing that because the tires were like exploding.
Yeah, I mean, kind of it is lucky that you seen it there, because then I was able. We do carry a couple spares with us, so we were able to swap it out. And then yeah, we had found a tire place up the road, and just a little rinky-dink tire shop, and we ended up rolling in there. They had some tires for us. They took care of us really well, gave us a good deal on them and everything, so it worked out nice. They got them popped off and on for me, and yeah, we were back on the road, and luckily we didn't have any more tire issues the rest of the 3,000 miles or something we drove.
I know, and it's just come to the point, like we've even talked about this multiple times, like if we're taking the camper somewhere now, it happens almost any long trip, we have some issue with the tire. Like we've moved weight and stuff around, so usually it's a little bit less, but I always just expect it now. I try to keep an eye on the tires, check them every time we stop, and typically I'm just waiting because like I know it's going to happen, and we have like, emergency roadside assistance, so like we'll be fine regardless. I just expect it now. Like something's going to happen with one of the tires, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we have had quite the adventure with tires on the toy hauler, but I think now, honestly, looking at the tires that we have on there, they look a lot better quality.
Yeah.
So I feel a lot more confident to.
And it's not like we cheaped out on the other tires.
No,
We did find out though the company we bought those tires from that were like failing stopped carrying that brand because they don't have a real sidewall. So like that's why we just went ahead and replaced both of them. And so anyways, we get all that fixed. The guy actually at the tire place got all excited because he saw our Shred MX conditioning on the side of the van. He's like, oh, do you guys have a YouTube? And
that was actually a guy there in a semi getting tires. It wasn't even
that's
at the tire shop. It was just someone.
He ended up following us.
Yeah, he did.
He found us on Instagram and ended up following us. So I thought that was pretty cool. The graphic on the side of the van is like doing what I want it to do, just attracting people's attention. So that was super cool. But otherwise, yeah, the rest of the trip was pretty uneventful. We got into Florida, had to find a Larry's Giant Subs because that's one of our favorite places to eat once we get down there. And then we made it to Pax on Monday, a little bit later than expected, but we made it.
Yeah, we got down there, and It was obviously very toasty once we made it down to Florida.
Yeah. Oh, and we got down there and found out that our toilet in the camper wasn't working.
Oh yeah, that was like what, the first night.
The very first day, like the water wouldn't come out of the toilet. Like you can push the little pedal.
I think we got a couple flushes, but then all of a sudden, it just stopped working. So
we were like, well, this is fun, and camp started on Tuesday, so we didn't have any time to work on it right away.
No, I think we went a day or two without a toilet.
Yeah.
Luckily, I mean, they have toilets right.
But we used a cup, so there was just a plastic cup, and filled it up in the sink that's in the bathroom and dumped some water. We
made it work.
We did for a couple days, and then had to pull the toilet. Thank God we've pulled them out of a house before, so like I know like what a house toilet looks like. So we pulled the toilet out of the camper. It was just a filter that needed cleaned out, and we set it back down, and so that was fixed. But day one of camp was Tuesday, and it was a very exciting morning. The very first practice session, a kid sends it over the berm, off the back of the track, down this like 20-foot hill is into a creek. This kid's bike was like across the other side. Yeah.
Honestly, there's so much like overgrowth behind that berm. I think that's the only thing that saved the kid from, because it probably like slowed his like fall.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a heck of a drop, and we ended up having to dig the kid's bike up out of the back of this berm and stuff, because there was no way to get down in there. There was like literally like one hole where I think he shot through, and it kind of cleared some stuff, and we ended up we had to put like a chain around it, and like a few of us like drug it up the back of the berm.
They were trying to use a bobcat, but got the bobcat too much at an angle, and basically it was reading there was no diesel fuel in it.
There wasn't.
Yeah.
They didn't realize, they didn't.
So they stalled out the bobcat on the berm at Pax, and now could no longer use it to get the kid's bike out.
Yeah, so we drug it up the bike up by hand. The kid was completely fine, which was good. But yeah, we got the bike drug up. It was okay. It was okay, luckily, but we got it drug up, and then they had the bobcat stuck, and we were only on like a 15-minute break. It was like after the first warm-up session of the morning.
Yeah, seriously, that's how we started camp. It was wild.
Yeah, I wasn't even on the front track. I was with a group on their back intermediate track, and we were walking up to grab some water, and everyone's like, hey, can you guys come help us? And we ran over there, and so then they ended up having to take the dozer back there and drag the bobcat down the hill so it was flat, so they could pump some diesel or pour some diesel into it and get it running, and it was quite the adventure for the first day. Yeah,
but day one went good. Day two also went well. I know I got lit up by fire ants.
You always do down there.
Yeah, and then I'm slightly allergic to them. Not like enough to need to go to the hospital, but enough that I swell up really bad, and they were all over my elbow. So I had a massive elbow for like a week. Day two, pretty uneventful though. Just a good camp day. We got to ride a little bit after. And then on day three, that's always my favorite day of the camp, because we get to do a coach's ride where we go out and ride with all of the people that are at camp.
Yeah, so for camp, they break it into different groups, and then there's a bunch of coaches so they do 2 coaches per group. And then, in the morning, like you were saying, they do a little coaches ride with each group. So it's like we take one group out at a time for a handful of laps. And, it's really fun, especially when you get down to the little classes. You get to cruise around with the kids and, get up next to them, yell at them a little bit, hoop and holler, rev the bike a little bit, get them excited, and just have some fun with them and stuff. So, I always like doing that. It's a good time.
Yeah, it is. And the camp as a whole is a really good experience. There were 10 coaches this year. Like Phil said, split into, 2 groups. And then we did workouts in the morning and stretching and everything. And it ends up being a really fun time for the people who sign up for the class, but also us coaches. So if it's something that, you've seen us talk about or post about and something you're considering doing, definitely worth going. And I know he's going to change the date around a little bit next year, just because this year it was really hot, and he had actually moved it because of our regional schedule. So we were the reason it was July. So sorry, but it was good for everyone. But yeah, really good camp down there. And we love Pax Trax. We love CJ and Tawny and Moto Harris are great. We are not related to them. Just so happens that we all have the same last name. So
yeah, just a weird coincidence.
I am frequently asked when we're there, for some reason, if I'm CJ's sister. It's never that you're his brother. It's, are you CJ's sister? I'm like, no.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't really make sense.
Right, just a coincidence that we all have the same last name, so that's always fun. But
end of the week, me and CJ were just telling everyone that we were brothers.
yeah, that's fine. He probably still tells everyone that. But so then we were planning on, so that was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday was camp. Friday, I actually worked and hung out a little bit, went out to the beach briefly, and then we were going to ride at Pax Trax on Saturday or Sunday or both days because we were stationed there, but they got rained out both days. So that...
Oh, yeah, on the weekend.
Yeah, on the weekend, Saturday, Sunday.
Yep.
So on Saturday, we decided to drive 2.5 hours, I think it might have been closer to 2:45, south to go to Moto Bros, Okeechobee for the first time.
Yeah, it was cool.
It was cool.
Go check something out.
Yeah, I wish we would have decided a little sooner because we could have got on the road sooner, but we didn't even leave till 9 or 10 o'clock.
Yeah, we got there at noon.
Yeah, so hottest part of the day, but we're like, oh, it'll be good for us. We're going to Loretta's, so we're going to go ride, and it's a cool little track for sure. I had fun.
Yeah, I liked it. It was like I said, it was fun to just go check out something new, an area that we haven't really been in and everything. And, yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and they have a great facility. So they have, a grandstands, I think they were, but they had air-conditioned bathrooms.
Yeah, they have
underneath.
They have a pro shop. There was a little area inside you could go. They had parts and stuff. It looked like I didn't venture in there. But, yeah, there was bathrooms underneath that were all air conditioning, which is super nice.
Yeah.
Supposedly, I had heard that they were talked about, eventually putting showers in there and stuff, too. So that'd be pretty cool. But, yeah, it was a really nice facility. And then a few people that we were talking to said that they also have, a big pond area that has, a beachfront entrance that you can hang out and go swimming and all that. So, yeah, it was really neat. Definitely a cool little facility. And they also had, they had 2 tracks. So they had their main outdoor track, and then there's, a smaller little, I wouldn't even call it a 50 track. It's kind of an intermediate track.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool because the way they set it up is you could do 15 minutes there, and then you'd have 15 minutes at your pit, and then 15 minutes on the big track. So if you wanted to ride a bunch, you could keep rotating around.
Yeah, and you could ride a lot in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
That was very cool.
Because even with us getting there at noon, I still ended up riding 4 or 5 sessions before they finished up for the day.
Yeah. So that was fun. Made the trek back to Pax where we were stationed. And then Sunday, same thing. Pax got rained out. So again, late in the morning, we decided to pack up and go to Waldo to go ride.
Yeah, made it there noon again.
Right, hottest part of the day. So a little bit more low-key. They don't do sessions or anything at Waldo. We've been there before when we lived in Florida, actually. And Waldo is never my favorite track. I go there and ride because anything is a good challenge for me. I'm going to push myself and do it. But it's just the jumps there are hard to get over. I didn't have a paddle on. We didn't put a paddle tire on my bike. I just ran the knobby, which is fine.
I know we had the paddle, and I meant to change it as soon as we got in Florida, and it's it kept other things coming up, didn't get around to it. Yeah, you had to end up riding on knobs. You rode knobs the entire time we were down there.
Yeah, it's okay.
Sand.
It's all right. But we rode at Waldo. I ended up putting in... So I just get frustrated there because it's very deep sand. It's hard to get across the jumps because a lot of times, we got there at noon, so the faces were a little bit beat in already.
Their jumps aren't very lipped up anyways.
No, so you have to hit them with a lot of speed, which is fine, but when they're kind of close to corners, you have to be super aggressive, and without a paddle tire, it's really hard to do that.
Yeah, you're just wheel spinning.
So I was frustrated, but then I'm like, you know what? I was like, we're heading to Loretta's this week. I'm just going to go in and try to put in a long moto. And I got out there, and on the first or second lap, dropped my bike just from something silly and got super mad at my bike and was cussing at it and got up and just made myself ride. I think you said I ended up being out there for 22 minutes.
Yeah, I think so.
Which I was stoked with, but I was like, you weren't standing out there to tell me. You were just sitting back at the pit taking the time. And I pull off at, I didn't know it, but it was 22 minutes. I was like, I was probably only made it 10 minutes, and I'm already tired, and I was just frustrated. And then I came back and you said that I had made it 22. I was like, well, it's not so bad then. So, and it was hot. So, but yeah, you did some motos too. You like Waldo a little bit more than I do.
Yeah, it's a little easier on the 450 to flow around, get all the jumps down and stuff like that. Yeah, I didn't mind it at all. I had a good time that day. Put in some motos myself and tried to get a little heat training in, get prepared for Loretta's. I guess as best as we could.
Yeah.
For what we could do and what we had available to us.
Oh, that's the other thing. We didn't even find out we were for sure racing Loretta's until the Friday before we left.
Yeah, it was like kind of a scramble because we
Yeah.
had graphics and.
So I finished 8th at Redbud, and you had a 7th and an 8th, and they take 6 for sure. But we sent in all of our entries as alternates, hoping that, we would get straight in. We found out literally Friday and had to leave for this 3-week adventure on Sunday. And we had kind of planned on just going anyways, to Loretta's anyways. But okay, are we racing or are we not? We find out 2 days before we have to leave. So then it just okay, well, let's go, zero time to prepare. But we did what we could.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a little tough with having the camp and that close together. But yeah, we made it happen, and it would have been nice to know a little sooner than that, just for the case of us leaving and everything. But yeah, it worked out.
Yeah, we made it happen.
Not that big of a deal.
So Waldo was Sunday. Monday we just had a chill day. We actually went to St. Augustine because I love St. Augustine. Had a chill day, and then we did bike work Tuesday morning, and left Tuesday afternoon to head to Tennessee.
Yeah, and I wanted to back up too just for a second. The one morning we had went to breakfast. And
Oh my gosh! What morning? That was Monday.
It was Monday.
Monday
wasn't it?
morning.
Okay,
yep.
so it was Monday after the weekend stuff. We were like, we're gonna get up, go have breakfast somewhere nice, and I had found this little restaurant. So if you are ever down in Florida, you're on the Pax area, you're looking for a really cool little restaurant for I think they do everything: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I think it was called the Funky Pelican.
It was.
Yeah. So they didn't open till 8 in the morning, which was kind of cool. It gave us time to chill out and whatever. So we ran up there, and so if you've ever been around Pax, the beach over there, it's called Flagler Beach, and there's a pier over there. There's a restaurant, the Funky Pelican. It's right attached to the pier, and if you sit outside in the morning because it's still a little bit high tide, the water actually comes up underneath of the balcony
where you're sitting. It looks like you're sitting on the water.
Yeah, it looks like you're literally in the water as you're eating breakfast. So super cool little spot. I just wanted to throw it in there that we had found that. It's honestly something I've always wanted to do. I've told you that a bunch of times. I want to find a cool beach breakfast spot or something. And yeah, so we hit that, and it was really cool too because we got to park the van just right down the street from it, and essentially when I pulled into the spot, you're facing the ocean. It was really neat. So
yeah, we were beachfront parking.
Yeah, I felt spoiled.
Very much so.
It would look funny though, having the big white van sitting out there by the beach, and then there's I think there's a yellow Corvette next to
there
it.
Was. Yeah.
But yeah, super cool breakfast spot. So if you're in that area ever and you're looking for a cool little restaurant, Flagler Beach, Funky Pelican.
Yeah, definitely worth the trip for sure. So yeah, that was Monday. Like I said, St. Augustine, did some bike work Tuesday morning.
Yeah, we rolled out Tuesday afternoon.
Looked like 3 or 4.
Yeah. Got everything gathered up, hooked up and everything. Yeah, we rolled out of Pax.
Oh,
and,
while we were at Pax, we ended up having one of the stabilizer arms of our camper sitting on an ant pile. So the whole week we kept having ants in the camper.
Infested by ants.
And we'd clean them up.
Why.
Right, so we cleaned them up, and you thought it was coming on our shoes, so I started leaving my shoes outside.
Yeah, I thought maybe just the sand and not realizing we were bringing some of them in or something.
But then we kept finding more and more, and I started getting bit. Not only from the ones outside while we were training, but I got bit on my butt cheek. Where are these coming from?
And then you got up, and I started looking at the rug, and they were all over the little floor rug that we had.
So come to find out, we go outside. We thought maybe they were coming up the tires, because of where the tires were sitting on the ground. Nope, one of the stabilizer arms was right smack dab in the middle of an ant pile.
Yeah, and then they were coming down the frame rail and coming right through the back.
Where the door is, the toy hauler door.
Toy hauler door. They were sneaking past the seal, coming right in there, and they were everywhere.
So I literally had ant bites on my elbow from the fence post outside, on my foot, on my butt cheek, on my thigh, everywhere. I had them.
You were pretty lit up.
Yeah, so we went and got spray. So that was a little bit okay, by the time we were ready to leave on Tuesday, I'm like, I'm freaking over Florida right now because of the ants. I'm just over the ants. And I know they have them in Tennessee, but luckily we didn't find any. So I'm like, I'm ready to leave Florida.
Yeah, I definitely didn't blame you there. But yeah, it was kind of wild. We were getting infested. Luckily, we figured it out, though. Instead, just kind of ended up having to suffer with it the whole time.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so we got rolling out Tuesday afternoon. Started making our trek up to Loretta's. We had, 11 hours from Pax?
Yeah, and on Tuesday night, we ended up in, I think it was Caldwell, Georgia. But we were traveling through Georgia. And I was like, well, just start looking. I think I was driving again. It was nighttime. Of course, I was driving. And you started looking, and you found, it was called RV Stop that was attached to a Love's, right?
Yeah.
A Love's rest area?
It's called Love's RV Stop. So I had never seen one before. And I did, after we had found it and everything, I did a little research. They're starting to pop up all over. They're making them now. But we were just going to pull in, and I was going to try to park a little bit away from the semis, because anyone that has traveled it, you probably know if you park in the semis, it's pretty loud.
Loud,
especially just in a camper. It seems like the noise just swirls in there. So we were going to try to park away from them, and then, they had the little RV stop. So we ended up pulling in there and checking out. You have to pay. You have to do a reservation online and everything, because it's actually gated, so you can't just roll in and out of there, because it's kind of self-service, especially late in the evening. So you get a gate code and everything after you register, and you punch your gate code and roll in. But yeah, it wasn't too bad. It was $50 for the night, but it gave you a full hook of water, electric, sewer and Wi-Fi.
Yeah, everything. So we weren't really planning. We were just going to stop and sleep and get going quickly again. But I'm like, you just paid for all of this. Let's use it. So we hooked up the water in the morning. We made ourselves breakfast, and I can't remember. We sat outside and ate or ate inside.
I think we ate inside, but we sat outside and had another an extra cup of coffee or something. Because there was each spot are paved, concreted, the spot you park on, and then they all had a picnic table and a fire ring with them, so that if you had got there earlier, hung out, a couple of them had a little pavilion thing over the picnic tables. It was really nice how set up it was.
It was. I mean, $50 for a night, that's still way cheaper than a hotel. And I mean,
yeah, by the time you think about it though, we pull in there, like you said, got up the next morning, we got to take full showers without filling the tanks up. We got to make breakfast. Shoot, that alone, you go to a breakfast spot, you're probably paying $30-$40 just for breakfast.
Right.
That almost pays for the spot in itself.
Yeah, and just getting up and showering before you get back on the road is the best feeling.
Yeah.
So,
feeling all fresh and ready to go. And
yeah, it was just really nice because we took our time. I don't ever like rushing when we're traveling. If we need to stop, because we have a van and camper, and I have to pee a lot, so because we drink so much water. So, if we have to stop, we stop, and somewhere like that, okay, well, this actually has some nice amenities. We took our time there and enjoyed it. And, I don't like being in a rush everywhere. So when it was that nice, we definitely slowed it down and was like, yeah, let's enjoy this for a minute.
Yeah, I don't think we rolled out till 8 or so the next morning.
Yeah.
We just got up, took our time, I think we spent a couple hours there in the morning. So It was super nice. So, yeah, if you guys are traveling, search for the Love's RV stops. They're super nice.
Yeah, and I think some of the spots might have been more expensive, for the longer vehicles, but
that and the pull-through spots.
Oh yeah, if you wanted a pull-through spot, it was $60. The back-end spot was $50. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah,
it was funny. But yeah, totally worth it, especially if you can kind of plan ahead as a destination and get there 6-7 o'clock instead of we did. I think we pulled in at 10:30.
Yeah, 10:30, 11 o'clock something.
Yeah, but yeah, so that was nice, a little discovery there, because we're gonna have quite a few adventures, road trips coming up soon. So nice discovery. Got going, of course. Started into Atlanta around 11, and that was a pain to come through. But by the time we got into Tennessee, as soon as we got in there was a little rest area we stopped at that was a little island in the middle of water. It was very weird, but it was the coolest thing. Nicest people in there.
Right. That was the coolest rest stop.
Yeah, they gave us a little map, and they had a book for things that in Tennessee, and man, just driving through Tennessee, it is beautiful. And you can tell how much, like, slower life is there.
Yeah, the pace is definitely a bit slower there.
Yeah, it was just really nice. Even just driving through the couple places we stopped. So got to Loretta's, Hurricane Mills, Tennessee, around 4 on Wednesday. And pulling in, you were worried because we had a friend there that said that Stagecoach Hill, like the good parking, the good camping spots, because we won a hookup as well, by the way, for those of you that don't know, you have to enter the hookup lottery at Loretta's. Basically, everyone wants a hookup, but everyone can't have one. You enter the hookup lottery. If you're chosen, you get a hookup spot. You still have to pay for it. It's $400, but like you can't just buy one. You have to win the lottery.
Yeah.
So we won a hookup spot. Phil wanted to park on Stagecoach Hill because it's really nice up there. I agree.
Well, I also was trying to get up there too because most of those spots up there have sewer with them.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, like everywhere else, like down below Stagecoach, if you've ever been there, all the hookup spots are just water and electric, which don't get me wrong, it was great.
Yeah.
But yeah, the ones up on Stagecoach, it's their actual campground area, so they have sewer with it as well. So I was trying to get one of those, but yeah, everyone that's up there gets there so early.
We were an hour out, and one of my friends was there and said that, you know, it was all filled up there, and I told you, and you were kind of like, stressing getting a good parking spot, and I was like, don't worry about it, like it is what it is, we'll figure it out when we get there, right?
Yeah. I mean, it had been 19 years too, so like outside up on that hill, like I honestly never knew where else there was hookups there. And I think a lot of the ones that like even like the spots we had, well, they probably were along that fence line, but a lot of the other ones, like I think they've added a lot since the last time I've been there.
I'm sure. There's a lot more people that come now, so
yeah.
I'm sure. But so we pull in, got registered, paid for everything to get in the gate, and we pull in, and they saw that we had a hookup spot. So the lady was kind of telling us where some of them were at, and it ended up being that right when you pull in, and you start down the hill where like the track, so I guess
you
first.
pull and you go up the hill.
Yeah.
And then the road.
Past Stagecoach Hill.
Yeah, and then the road wise, the actual main road keeps going to the left, and you can go down past like the finish line, all that, or you crest over the hill, and it goes down the road, and there's like the pavilion and everything where you would register in the pool. But we ended up in a hookup spot right along that main road, essentially just up a little ways from the pool.
Yeah, so it was actually perfect because we had our brand new Shred Easy Up. It's a 10 by 20.
15.
10 by 15. Easy Up, and the big wall with our logo all over it, and the flags.
So it looked like we had a vendor spot because we were right on the road.
And I felt like we did. So we set up our table, and I had some freebies and like lanyards and stuff setting out for people to come take. So it ended up being a really cool spot. I just was giggling because I know like you wanted up there so bad, but the spot that we got ended up being really cool for people to be able to see us and come talk to us and see what we were doing.
It did work out really well, and then some of our friends from Ohio that we knew were actually parked directly across from us.
Yeah, we like backed in and we were like, oh, look who's across the street. What's up?
Yeah, so that was super cool. Made it fun for the week, having some people really close that we know well and everything. So that was a good time, and it ended up being a really nice spot. And also a big shout out to my dad and uncle because they ended up renting a golf cart for the week, so we had wheels all week and stuff to roll around. In the evening when they would head back to the hotel and stuff, we go turf around and check out what's going on, run into some other people we knew down there. So it was really cool.
It was cool. And so we were there Wednesday. We had Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, just free days. Sunday was registration, but there was still, you don't start riding till Monday. So we went early to get a good spot, but I knew like I wanted to get some workouts in on those days off. So you and I did a workout together on Thursday morning, and I recorded it and I put it on Instagram and just said, we're doing group workouts until racing starts if anyone wants to join. So on Friday morning and Saturday, we ended up with a little group doing a group workout with us.
Yeah, we collected a few people. It was cool.
Yeah, so that was cool. And then we did a stretch on Saturday, which, post-riding is good. And then during the week, we actually did group stretching sessions. So mainly just focusing obviously on stretching because most of us are racing and everything. You don't really need to do a workout on top of that. And had a few people for those every day too until life just got crazy, and I couldn't do them every day, but we did them at least before every WMX moto. I did with a couple of the women riders, and then a couple evenings we got some good stretches in with a group. But yeah, so we got to do that. Obviously, we actually went out to Walmart and got a little dry erase board, and I just kind of wrote out like what we were doing, and I kept seeing people stop and read it, so that was cool. But I wanted to say too, like, when we had the golf cart before everyone started really rolling in, your uncle and your dad hadn't got there yet. Your mom actually came too. She hadn't got there yet, but we were rolling around just by ourselves, like kind of cruising around. Like my first real time there, I've been there once before, only for a few days, and it was like a cool experience, but I don't know, like I didn't get to really experience Loretta's. So you're driving me around on this golf cart, and we're like really experiencing Loretta's right before everyone gets there. And I was stoked just to be there and kind of like awestruck a little bit and enjoying myself a bunch. And you like were cruising around. It was one evening, and you said that you're like, well, I don't ever remember having this much fun at Loretta's when I was younger. And I just kind of thought that was cool because like we were doing it together, and like how many years later that you've come and you're still enjoying it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely had fun in years past when I was a kid because I was running around with like friends and stuff. But yeah, it was, I don't know, we were so serious with the racing back then. Not that I'm not serious now, I'm still hard on myself sometimes too much, but we were so serious with the racing back then. It was trying to have fun with friends, but it was like in the back of your mind, like, oh my god, I gotta do good when racing starts. So there was always like that little bit of stress there. But yeah, as far as just like rolling around and just taking it all in, and yeah, it was a good time leading up to it.
Yeah, that's what you were very
riding
relaxed.
started, it was it was a tough week for me.
Yeah. So let's jump into that. Sunday was registration. Went pretty smoothly. We had to wait till like 4 o'clock or something to register.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. It's a little bit of a cluster, but I mean,
Yeah.
we got through. The toughest thing for us was I had to stand in 2 different lines to register for my 2 different classes. You had to stand in your own line, but you also have to sign like papers and stuff to be the mechanic.
Yeah, and we were each other's mechanics, so like I had to find someone to hold my spot in line so I could come sign yours for your first class, and then you're standing in line for your second class, you got to come sign my paper. Actually, I think I just brought you the clipboard.
Yeah, you did.
So we were just running back and forth, which is not out of the norm for us. Like,
no, it always seems to be that way.
it's just
Biggest amateur national of the year, still a clusterfuck for us.
yeah, usual. And like it was fine. We prepared for it. So got through that on Sunday. Monday was practice. You had, were you 7:30 practice?
Yeah, I was first practice of the morning, 7:30 a.m.
7:30, 11,
11.
and then I was 11:45. So you
Yeah.
get, the way Loretta's works, you get 1 practice on Monday per class.
15-minute practice.
So Phil was racing 25 and 30, so he got a 7:30 practice and an 11 practice. Well, I was only racing WMX, so I got 1 practice at 11:45. And that's difficult. I mean, I've never been to that track to ride it, and it takes me longer than 15 minutes to get comfortable on a track. So,
yeah, I knew that was going to be tough for you.
yeah, I wasn't like overly confident coming out of practice, but I will say the track itself isn't difficult. The jumps aren't hard. Like I got the majority of them down. The only thing that I hadn't gotten through after practice really was the 10 Commandments. And I knew that was like a goal for me. I wanted to make sure that I jumped through them and didn't roll them all week long.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, 1 practice, whatever. Bike's not feeling great. The track wasn't like terribly rough. I mean, it's challenging mostly because of the transitions between the different soil types. So you go from clay to sand to
Like
mulch.
sawdusty mulch.
Yeah, back to sand. So like that was the biggest challenge, was mentally shifting my riding style from one to the next. Like a couple times I would jump into the sand and be like way too far forward, and it would throw all my weight forward, and I'd get bar swap, and I'd be like, you look like a total goon. Like just from not transitioning my riding style. Like, okay, sand, get back. You know, we're in the clay, we got ruts, get forward. Like you have to think about it a lot, and it took me practice and first moto before I figured that out. Like got into a little groove.
Yeah, it is definitely weird, like the transition, and it kind of threw me off. Like, I mean, I've watched the broadcast, and I know they add sand in, but I wasn't expecting, like, more or less, like, 3 different types of not even soil, because it was sand, and then you had, like, you could tell it was like clay, and then they had this really fine sawdust that they had mixed in the spots, and then they also threw it over the sand in spots. It made it very deep even before they tilled it up. But yeah, it was weird, the transition from the different dirts. And it also makes it like you were saying, the track isn't too overly difficult. There's like a few jumps that are a little tough. But other than that, it's just the breaking down of the track, and then having like how it breaks down, how it forms different times of the day, you know, whenever your moto or your practice is. Like, I even said this to you, like, I mean, it was kind of cool for me. Like, I had that very first moto and a first practice and all that. But, so I got to ride the track a few times, like, smooth. But like I was telling you, if you're a late practice and you have later motos all week, you'll never ride that place smooth.
Yeah.
And honestly, my first practice of the day was the smoothest I ever rode it, because even when we went out for the first moto of the week on Tuesday, they had just like slightly back drug over the braking bumps, so a lot of the braking bumps and like the big like rolling bumps in the sand and stuff were all still there.
Yeah, they don't fully prep that track every evening. They kind of like pick sections, and I would guess it's so that it's not like perfectly fresh every morning, but that definitely made it challenging too. I mean, I think they cleaned up the jump faces well.
Yeah, they redid the jumps and everything, and they would redo like the corners, but some of the spots, like where it would be choppy, they might till like the outer line coming in, but if you were on the inside, there might be some big old bumps still, or vice versa. They might have tilled a little bit of the inside and smoothed it out, and then left the outside still a little choppy. So yeah, it was very hard, like as far as like ever getting like a good smooth area. Like most tracks, you know, you develop like a handful of lines, but you move around and you find some smooth stuff. Loretta's is literally edge to edge of the track. It's hammered.
Yeah, it is. And
especially late in the days.
You just have to find like your lines, find your rhythm and what you're comfortable with. Like there were some. You really
gotta have a flow. You gotta learn to flow around that place.
There were some corners that there were some corners that I was taking way outside, and then a couple corners like before the 10 Commandments, I just liked the inside, and no girls were going in there, so I had like clean track every lap because everyone was going to the outside. So, but yeah, so practice went well, and it actually rained Sunday night at some point in time. No, it rained Monday.
Yeah, it was Monday.
Monday afternoon. So we were done with practice, and it rained for a little bit, and I was like, oh, well, glad we got our practices in early.
I think they even were on a slight lightning delay.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because practice got backed up by like an hour or so.
Yeah.
By the time, like, lightning delay and getting bikes back on the track, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, we got a little bit of rain, which definitely made it, that first moto on Tuesday morning for me, it made it pretty soft.
Yeah, so you had a 7:30 a.m. moto on Tuesday, so tell us about it.
Yeah, so we, first moto of the day, like I said, it was pretty soft. And of course, they, like, tilled the crap out of it and watered it and everything. I just spun off the gate because they didn't really groom the gates too well behind the gates, which was terrible.
Yeah, they did look terrible.
So wheel spun off the gate, was like probably maybe mid-pack if I was lucky. Fell on the first straightaway, got myself up, and started moving forward, and I was doing okay. I was getting into people, and I was passing people and making moves, and I was feeling pretty good, and then I was having a little bit of like suspension issues, which I did figure out later, just some adjustment. But the bike didn't want to like overly turn in the ruts very well. It was just grabbing them a lot, so I ended up grabbing the edge of one, and I tipped over, got up, started trying to go forward again. Was feeling a little winded at that point, just from picking myself up twice, and probably a little amped up from falling, especially on the right off the start, essentially. And ended up tipping over again in another corner. Was pretty frustrated with that. But I did make it through for a 37th for the first moto, which I was feeling very terrible out and kind of beat myself up about it after the moto.
No, kind of. You
Yeah.
were beating
I was
yourself
pretty
up.
stressed out.
Yeah, you were frustrated for sure.
I just knew I had a lot more speed than that, so I just wasn't sure what had happened. I mean, outside I knew I fell 3 times, so I just was trying to chalk it up to that. But I just didn't overly feel like I rode like I should have been. So I had another moto later in the day for plus 25. So I just tried to regroup as best as I could before we got in that. And then just once we rolled around to that next moto, went up there and I think it was like a 230 moto.
I think it was. Yeah, 2 or 230.
Yeah, I think it was something like that. I know the one day I had a 3 or 330 as well, so can't remember exactly the times. But anyways, I know I had a later in the day moto, so I went up, tried to just take it as a new moto. Did get a fairly good start in that one. Was right in the mid of the pack and was feeling pretty good. Made about 4, I want to say 4-ish, 5 laps maybe. So probably about halfway through the moto, or close to half. And I went to take a big deep breath through my nose and try to give myself like a little bit of a reset and just keep charging forward. And for some reason when I went to take a deep breath, I couldn't get any air through my nose. My sinuses felt closed off. And then I started to kind of panic in my helmet because of it. And then I was felt like I was gasping for air. Hit a huge wall. Ended up riding around, but I made it through the moto. Looked later, ended up finding out I got another 37th.
Consistent.
Yeah, feeling real great about myself. But got off the track, was not feeling good at all. You ended up riding me back to the camper. And
yeah, I thought you
laid down in front of the fan, was like hyperventilating.
So you pulled off the track though, and right where you pull off, there's a bank of porta-johns, and you got off your bike. Like by the time I got over to you, someone else was holding your bike. You were off your bike, sitting on the ground right next to the porta-johns. I'm like, something is wrong. Like you looked like you were gonna pass out. So I'm like trying to check on you, get your bike, and you like stood up. You're like, let's go back. So I got you on the back of your bike behind me, and you're like laying on me. I'm like, please don't like pass out right now and fall off. Like I'm just trying to get you back to the camper because I didn't know what was going on.
Not feeling good.
No.
But yeah, I got back and got in front of the fan, stripped all my stuff off, and got myself cooled down and kind of came back around. But yeah, I ended up. I think I got a little bout of heat exhaustion there.
Yeah, which by the way, the heat index while we were down there all week was like 110 to 115.
Yeah. I think Tuesday was 110, and then I had heard, I think Wednesday or Thursday it was like 115, 117, somewhere in there. So it got real hot at the beginning of the week. I think it was Wednesday was that real hot day because they ended up cutting my one moto by 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Because it was so hot,
Rita
which I've
Coombs
never
came.
heard of
Yeah.
happening.
Rita Coombs came walking around and like, we're cutting it by 2 minutes because of the heat index.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, 2 minutes is only probably about a lap, but still, I mean, they were trying to do something to protect the riders. But yeah, I got a little bout of heat exhaustion, so.
And that's not something that you recover from like right now. It takes a good 24 to 48 hours to recover from heat exhaustion.
Yeah, so that was the first day of racing. You weren't racing till Wednesday. We actually both got to race Wednesday because you got your first moto and I had my second moto of 30. So yeah, let's jump to Wednesday. Got up Wednesday morning. Was feeling extremely rough from the heat exhaustion the day before. Tried to get some breakfast down. Struggled. My stomach was not feeling good at all. Was outside doing stuff, kind of getting the bikes together, whatever. Was just boiling. It wasn't even hot yet. Like, I mean, it was hot, but not overly hot yet in the morning. And I was just boiling. Anyone that knew me before I went to, or seen me before Loretta's, I had long hair, and it was almost to my shoulders. And I was boiling. I didn't know what to do, and it was like almost giving me like anxiety over how hot I was. And all I could think was like my head just kept feeling like I had a beanie on. So I was like, I gotta shave this hair off. So we ended up shaving my hair off.
Yeah, shout out to the motocross moms and wives and ladies Facebook Messenger group that was all about Lorettas. So there's this stream of just conversation going on between the moto moms, wives, and ladies that are at Loretta's. That if you needed something, you just put it in there. Ladies were chatting back and forth. So I'm like, hey, does anyone here have a set of clippers? My husband is suffering from heat exhaustion and has long hair, and he wants to buzz it. Immediately, someone responded. She was like, yeah, I'm a bar. Or she's like, I don't know what she said. She works at a hair place, and she always carries a spare set. Anyway, she's like, I'll bring them over. So she found us and brought me the clippers to shave your head.
Yeah. So we proceeded to shave my head down, which I will say did help. I was able to get rid of some of that heat. But I was still kind of like struggling. My stomach wasn't feeling great. Tried to get a little more nutrition in before motos had rolled around. Wasn't doing very good at that, but did what I could. And then, yeah, we got up there. You had your moto, and then I was like 2 hours after that. But they want you up there a good half an hour or more before your moto. So it was like you raced your moto, your first moto of the week, and then it was like you got off, and it was like scramble back to the trailer for me to get geared up. But,
yeah, and you were taking a nap before I went up for my moto, and I almost let you sleep, but I knew that you were going to be mad at me if I did that because I knew you'd want to be up there with me, so I woke you up, and I felt really bad.
Yeah, I was feeling rough that day. But, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. We made it through it. But anyways, your moto, how'd that first moto go for you?
Not well. I fell on the first lap also, but it was more just like, it was still like I just wasn't comfortable on the track yet. So I don't think I got a terrible start that first moto, but it wasn't like great either. I was doing okay, like kind of sticking with everyone, and then got to the sand section before the finish line, and there was a girl down. I was trying to change lines to avoid her and just lost the front end in the sand. Didn't fall hard or anything, but that sand is deep, so picking the bike up, I was like stuck between two lines, so I had to actually back my bike up so I could get on it to get going again, because it's kind of like leaning down too. So just being short didn't help there. But so I got going, and I was like, okay, just go catch back up to the end of the pack. Well, it was like I didn't have any intensity because I didn't know where to push because I wasn't comfortable on the track yet. So I ended up just basically riding around in 39th place, kind of like in shell shock, just like, it's really cool to be here. This is really awesome. And then like, okay, so it's a 20-minute moto, and that we figured out that kind of pretty much includes your last 2 laps. So I didn't see the halfway mark, didn't see the 2-lap board, did not see the white flag. So I come around at the end, and they're flagging me off the track, and I was like, oh, that's weird, did someone wreck? And I look, and I ended up seeing the checkered flag. I was like, oh, it's over. I was like, it's over already? I was like, I'm not even tired. I'm like, you idiot, you didn't even push hard enough to be tired after 20 minutes of riding. Like, you just rode around. So I'm like,
you're kind of stuck in practice mode.
Yeah, I was, because like I hadn't rode since Monday. I only got 1 practice session. Now it's Wednesday, and I'm supposed to show up and line up on a gate and race. It was weird. Okay, so anyways, I'm like, okay, well, that obviously wasn't my best moto. Definitely just rode around, but I can do better, right? Like, only room for improvement from here. The only reason I beat a couple people is because some of the girls didn't finish because they wrecked. But it's whatever. I was like, at one point in time, I was riding in that motor, and I was like, well, someone's got to be the back marker, and I guess today it's me. Like, whatever, you know, like, I didn't have expectations. I truly was just excited to be there, but I at least wanted to ride like myself, which I wasn't doing. So I'm like, okay, next moto, we'll do better. So anyways, I get off, come get you. We went back to the camper so that you could put gear on.
Yeah. Get back, got scrambled around, got gear on, got back up there for my second 30 moto. And yeah, it was another rough moto. I got an okay start, and I'm trying to remember, I feel like some of the motos and the week is a little bit blurred together with everything that was going on. But yeah, I went out for that second 30 moto. I got an okay start, and I think I was moving through some people.
You were.
And I was feeling okay, and then I could breathe and everything. A buddy of ours, or a buddy of mine, I should say, that was there, threw me some nose strips. Big shout out for that. I appreciate it, but they helped me out a ton. So I was able to get air. So I was like, cool, I'm feeling good. We're getting air. And when I did the parade lap too, because I had shaved my head, I could feel the air going through the vents in my helmet. I'm like, we're ready to go. We're going to be good this moto. And I was like, from those other motos, I was very questioning myself, like, that I couldn't make it through the motos. And which is unlike, I don't usually feel that way. I mean, most people know, even locally, like when I go out and practice, I usually do 20 or 30 minutes because I would be out there pounding laps, and I love it. I'll be pouring sweat when I come off. I don't mind that. But I was getting, like, even those first motos, it's like I'd get, like, midway into the race, and I'd be, like, pulling goggles off, and I even had a couple people joke with me and ask if they needed to glue my goggles to my face. But, yeah, I made it to about the midway point in that 30 moto, and it's like I just hit like a massive wall. It's like all my energy, I was completely depleted. And even like the beginning of the motos felt very like chaotic to me, which is not like me. Like I usually can process that stuff, the chaos around me. It's fine. It doesn't bother me, like the intensity. But yeah, I was like, get to the middle of the moto, like the 30 moto, and hit a wall, and it's completely depleted. So I was like, we'll just try to finish them out again. And we got like a good ways in. I think if I won it, I would have been coming around probably in like, I don't know, 4 laps to go or something, 3-4 laps to go. And I would have been on 4 laps to go. I tipped over right before the 10 Commandments. Just completely like mental focus and everything was like toast at that point. I didn't really know how I was going to make it the rest of that moto, but I was trying to survive. Tipped over right before the 10 Commandments, like dead weight on my shoulder. Got up not feeling great at all. Rode around, and I had just gotten lapped by B. Haas. He was out front. Let him go, cruised around, made it to the finish line. Kenny, Henry, and a couple other guys were coming up behind me, so I let them cruise by. And then I just said, screw it, and it was a 2-lap board for them. I just pulled off. I ended up DNF in that moto. I just knew there was something not going, like something was not right with my body or something. Didn't know if it was from the heat exhaustion. I'm sure it played a little part.
Well, and heat exhaustion is not a joke. I told you, like, if you feel weird, if you see spots, if your head's not right, like, you need to get off the track because you're going to hurt not only yourself, but you could hurt other people too. Like, so if you don't feel well, just get off. It's not worth it.
And I wasn't feeling good at all. So I just pulled off of a moto, which I rarely ever do. So it was a tough pill to swallow, but I pulled off and just to save myself, not do further damage like you're saying. So that's how we finished out Wednesday. And then got up Thursday, and I was supposed to have a 25 moto.
I think it was around 10.
Yeah, 10:30. So would have been like a good time. I was still feeling rough as can be. So I made the tough decision that I was going to skip the next 25 moto and try to get my body to recover, which I was thankful to, that I did that.
Also a hard decision for you, though, I know.
Yeah, it was hard to skip a moto. I kind of, in the back of my mind, wanted to make myself go out there and just ride around even, but I knew that wasn't a good idea, especially how rough I was feeling.
Like, at some point in time, you were just going to keep compounding it. So,
yeah, just make it worse.
Right, so, like, take a day off, and it's actually funny because I think it was on Wednesday, after that second 30 moto, we were sitting in the creek with some friends, the river, whatever you want to call it. And the one guy said something about, oh, yeah, I'm just a one-class kind of guy now, like one of the older guys. And you were like, well, freaking no one told me that. You're down there trying to race 2 classes in the heat. So
yeah. With everything that was going on the week I was wishing I was only racing 1 class to give my body some time.
Yeah, because you had no time to recover. You had at least 1 moto, if not 2, every day.
Yeah.
And when you had heat exhaustion on, like, Tuesday, like I said, you just keep compounding it if you keep. So, yeah, you decided Thursday?
Yeah.
Thursday not to race that moto.
And it was a good thing. I mean, by the afternoon, essentially after that moto, I got moving around. And, I mean, I had gotten some breakfast in the morning, not a whole lot. Still was struggling with it. By the afternoon, though, I was feeling better. Had gotten, good bit of hydration in and everything, and was starting to get food down, get nutrients in me. So that was helping out a ton. Starting to feel more like myself. So I'm like, cool. Like, we'll go into. I had one moto on Friday for the last 30 moto, and I had one moto on Saturday
So
for 25, and then you had your last moto on Saturday. But
I had a moto Friday too. My second moto
your
on
second
Friday.
moto was
8 a.m.
Friday. But I was glad I did that because I was like feeling ready to just go into those last motos and, try to have a good time, finish them out strong. And I had kind of figured out also that Thursday I took off, kind of processed through everything, like thinking about the motos, what was going on with my body, and I kind of come around to realize that there was an energy gel supplement that I was using. I'm not going to throw any names out there, but there was an energy gel supplement that I was using, and I've used them in the past, usually more between motos, like at local race. If I have really close motos, I'll smash one in between just to kind of, it's almost like a quick recovery. I don't always use them so much for the motos, but I knew we hadn't done a ton of like long moto training before that. So we were both kind of on the same page, like, oh, take a gel, do the sight lap, be ready for the motos. And it took me almost the whole week to process that I had not tried these before the brand that I was using.
Yeah, you changed brands.
Yeah,
Neither
I had
one of us
changed
realized
brands.
you hadn't tried those ones yet.
Yeah.
You just switched.
So the more I process it, I believe that I run a little high strung sometimes, so I think they were. I just think there's an ingredient. I have to do a little more research or something, but I think it was spiking my heart rate mid moto, or it would like spark my heart rate at the beginning of the moto, and I hit mid moto and just completely crashed.
Like maxed out.
Yeah, like maxed out, nothing left. Like, you got to pull off right now feeling, which is not me. Usually, like, I'll get tired, I'll be tongue dragging, but I'm still going. Like, I can still go, but it wasn't any of that. It was just all to nothing.
And I think a little bit of it was probably combined between, like, being anxious for those motos, being stressed after that very first moto on Tuesday, and then, like having something in your system that, I don't think there's caffeine in them, but there's definitely a good bit of sugar, which is partly for energy, helps with, recovery and things like that. So just a little bit of a combination of everything. It definitely was, like, not good.
Yeah. So I had kind of, at least that's what I was feeling was happening. So I was excited, like, got the body to recover. I'm like, all right, Friday, we're going to go into this last 30 moto. We're going to do it all natural, just on some normal-ass hydration of some water and electrolytes. And we're going to hammer down, and if we get tired, we're going to bear it out, but we're going to just see if that was the case. So I honestly went into the last motos, like, excited. Like, let's see if, I got this figured out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we got up Friday. I had I think it was an earlier moto, wasn't it?
Mine was 8 o'clock, and yours was 9:30. We only had an hour and a half between.
That's
for
right.
That one.
We had another close one because you were towards the end of the schedule.
Like, very end of the
schedule.
schedule.
And then I was the very first moto.
Yeah.
Of every time it flipped around.
I was 3 from the last. I was 3rd from the last moto, and Phil was 1st. So when the one day we had an intermission between where they did a little track prep. Well, Friday we didn't have any time in between. So you were an hour and a half after me. So we got up, I got geared up, went up to the line, and I actually had a good second moto. So that was my second moto Friday morning at 8. And I figured out we were racing, found the throttle.
Yeah, I told you on the gate to not be a sissy. That was race time.
Yeah. So I wheelied off the start and, like, got it back down. And, like, I got, like, a mid-pack start. It wasn't great, but it wasn't, like, terrible either. But then that moto, so I stayed in with the pack. I didn't fall down, which I was stoked on. But that moto, I also started jumping through the 10 Commandments.
Yeah.
Because we were such an early moto. The faces were beautiful. And then, like, I had told you, like, before Friday, I was like, you got to tell me something to get me pissed off on the line. Because I'm the type of person that needs amped up on the line, and you need calmed down on the line.
Yeah,
so we're like,
amped up.
we're like good, very good for each other, in that we're total opposites in that way. So yeah, you told me I couldn't go out there and be a sissy. You said none of that sissy shit out there. So I went out there. I think it might have been like the second, because all the girls kind of jumped through or rolled through them the first lap because we're so close together. I think the second lap I just started jumping through them. Took the inside, rolled the first one, and then just seat bounced into the next one and jumped through them. So I was super stoked on that. Pushed the whole moto. Passed some girls that fell down. Oh, there was a girl.
You looked a lot more like yourself. Like you actually had some aggression.
I was racing.
Yeah.
I figured out we were racing. And I was a lot more comfortable on the track by that point.
Figured out that the throttle was on the right.
Yeah. So it was funny because the last lap, a couple girls, it might have been second to last lap, a couple girls fell in front of me and I passed them. And then the last lap, they got back around me. But there was one of the girls on a 125, stalled it in the last turn right before the checkered. And I was like giggling. I was like, ooh, you don't have electric start on that. And just kind of rode around her giggling. So I got a position because of that and I was laughing. But I ended up 33rd that moto. So I was stoked.
Yeah.
And then we had to rush back. So after you're done, because it was so hot, they had people on where you exit the track, they had people standing there giving you cold water bottles, which was awesome. But we were so close together, I couldn't stop to get a water bottle. I'm like, I got to go back and get Phil and get him back to the camper to get your gear on so that we could make it
right back to the station.
Yeah, and that's how our life always is. It's fine. Totally used to it by now. It's fine. So I come running back and get you, and we ride back up, stoked on how I, rode and everything, and then you get all geared up and ready for your 9:30 moto.
Yeah, and so we went up there. I was excited, I knew I was gonna have last gate pick. I was gonna be pretty far outside, which I was fine with. Whatever, take it, with a grain of salt. And I kind of put myself in that position from the beginning of the week. So we just went out there. I told myself we're gonna have a good old time, and like I said, I was gonna see if I could actually truly finish a moto strong and make sure that's what was going on. And for anyone of you guys that seen Instagram or God, it seems like it's viral now. So if you haven't seen it, I don't know how, but that last 30 moto is the moto that my wreck was in that we posted the video of.
If you haven't seen it, go to either one of our Instagrams and find it.
Yeah, and the worst part too is I think it was the second 30 moto we were sitting in staging, and I was talking to Fowler, and he was like, "Oh, you're having a week like I am too," and I was like, "Yeah, it's been rough or whatever." And then we were back up there, and I think I didn't
realize you had talked to him before that.
That was second moto, and then I think when we were back up there, third moto, I chit-chatted with him a little bit and everything, and of course we take off. I got a heck of a jump. I was like 4 gates in from the outside.
Yeah.
And
drove
4 or 5 or something.
I took a video of the start. Drove super straight. Started just held it on and started coming around people around the outside. It was an awesome start.
I couldn't see anyone on the right side of me on the inside, so I just had her licked and we were going in there, and then a guy kind of came up next to me and it made me check up a little bit, but he got into the back end of me, which I seen the video later from behind, and he ends up going down.
Yeah.
Takes out some people behind us.
Yeah.
This whole start was a cluster. And then,
so that was the first pileup, and when I saw that from the starting line, and I'm like, oh no, was Phil in that? And there was a couple people standing up there that we knew, the Hoosier Tire guys, and you actually lined up right next to our friend Jordan from Ohio also. The guy that was mechanicking for him, I was like, no, I don't see Phil in it. I'm like, okay, cool. So I take off over towards the mechanics area to see you come around and start cheering you on. So that was the first pileup that you were not in.
Yeah, the dude next to me kind of calls that because he ran into the side of me. It's like it's like he checked up and turned. He didn't turn. He just went left almost into the side of me. Luckily, it didn't take me down. So I'm like, all right. It's like I kind of checked up and then got back on the gas, and 2 guys in front of me kind of got together, and the one dude fell, and I was hoping I was going to miss his bike, but I went right between the rear wheel and the fender.
Yeah, so it's like a right turn, and the 2 guys got together, and it blew the guy on a Husky left into a wall
of sand.
So it just pitched him over the wall, and he went tumbling, but his bike stayed in the track, and you were
not far behind him.
No, and ran it.
Yeah, I ran into his bike, took the bar straight to the chest, which knocked the wind out of me.
Beautiful endo, though.
Yeah.
Straight, beautiful, like, beautiful form. Like, we were joking because the Olympics were going on at the same time.
Yeah,
But.
did a sick endo over dude's bike onto the ground. As I, like, endo and the bike is flipping back over and my legs were still attached to it since I'm nice and lanky, it was flipping me back around, and poor Fowler was right behind us. He clips dude's bike, jumps off of his bike, and jumps straight into me.
Into your chest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
I
scary.
had tire tracks up my arm, across like my legs, onto my chest of my jersey.
Yeah.
On my goggle lens I had tire marks.
Yeah.
Blew the goggle lens out halfway and even bent the frame of my goggles.
That's one thing I am super thankful for that we wear. So we wear the 100% Armega goggles that have the pre-molded hard lens.
Yeah, it's a pre-curved hard lens.
So, like, if you've been around a while or if you just wear cheaper goggles, which is totally fine, but you know the little, they're flat lenses and you just kind of bend them into the frame of the goggles and pop them in. Yeah, like they're flimsy is what I'm getting at. I am so thankful you didn't have goggles like that on because I don't know what your face would look like.
I know. I think the goggles took a huge part of the impact.
Yeah.
The helmet and the goggles.
Yeah, your helmet, the face of your helmet's pretty beat up, like some chips and stuff out of it. The goggles, the lens was broken and half blown out of it, and tire tracks across, like, your tear-offs and everything. So, like, when you watch the video, like, there's a part of it that slows it down. When he jumps off of that bike, when Fowler jumps off of that Husky, he, like, plowed into your chest with his front tire and basically rides your chest up your face, and then he goes flying. But you got, like, hit with a 450 in the chest and face.
Yeah, I felt like I got ran over by the whole class.
Yeah, but it was one person.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
but I wore the whole Kawasaki 450 on the front of me like a t-shirt.
Yeah, you did. But, so I had already started moving over towards the mechanics area, and I didn't see any of this. So you were apparently laying there. And I get up over to the mechanics area, which is like around the wall and everything. So no idea anything's going on. And then I saw another pileup, and I was like, please don't tell me he's in that. And I see one of the track workers picking your bike up. And it's hard because everyone runs different numbers down there pretty much, especially us because we have 3 digits. So you've got 66 on your bike instead of 669. So I'm like looking, I'm like, yeah, that's Phil. And I'm like looking for you, don't really see you. And then the dude's just looking around, like with your bike. I'm like, hey, I'm his wife. Like, you can bring his bike over here. So they push it off to the track, which is the opposite side of the track that you were on. You were like on the infield and I'm still in the mechanics area. So they give me your bike or whatever and I'm like, just lean it over there. And
yeah,
then
they had to get me off the track because I was like in the center of the track when you would exit like behind the billboard by the mechanics area.
Yeah.
I was still in the center of the track because I made it that far.
Yeah.
Because like some people even told me we had hit the start stripe,
Yeah.
which registers the transponders and stuff. And of course they told me I came through the stripe somewhere between 10th and 12th.
From the outside.
Yeah, from the outside.
It was sick.
And I will say that I'm on a bone stock Honda 450. The only thing on the thing is a pipe.
A pipe,
I don't
yeah.
even have it tuned on the ECU, nothing like that. And yeah, I freaking almost ripped a killer hole shot.
So I'm like stoked thinking you just got like the best start from the outside and I'm running to the mechanics area like ready to be pumped for you and start cheering you on.
I'm laying on the ground.
Well, and then I saw you weren't though when I got over there. It took me that long to get over there.
Oh, yeah.
I just saw your bike. So then
I
I
laid
kind
there
of
for a second or two because it knocked the wind out of me.
Yeah. So we actually found out later too that they almost red flagged it because you were still laying there.
Yeah, if I would have laid there like a minute longer, they would have red flagged it.
Yeah, because it was just such chaos off that start.
Yeah, because Broc Peterson came over. He had crashed in the first turn, kind of next to me all by himself, a little ways over. And he's like, dude, if you would have just laid there for a few seconds longer, they would have red flagged. You would have helped me out so much.
Yeah, he's like, take one for the team. But
I'm like, if I would have known.
Yeah. But so I get over there and like see your bike and I couldn't find you. So I'm like kind of going into a panic. And then I saw you standing in the infield with like talking to some track people and I can see that your face is bloody and I'm like, well, at least he's standing up, right? So like, okay, we're okay, just kind of trying to figure out what's going on, and I'm like yelling at you. There was no way you heard me, more like mouthing to you across the track like, are you okay? And the first time like you threw your hands up, I didn't know what you said. And then I'm like, you start talking to someone, and then like you look back at me, and I'm trying to get you to tell me if you're okay or not. Like, give me a thumbs up or something, you know? You throw your hands up, and then I figured out you were asking. You're like, where's my bike? I'm like, oh, he's mad because he can't find his bike. He must be mostly okay. We're good. It's fine.
Yeah, I got up. I'm like, dude's over there. He got me off the track because he's like, can you get up? And I'm like, yeah, I just can't breathe. The little bit I could talk. And he got me up. He had popped my goggles off. I was like pouring blood from my nose. And I got over there and I was asking him, yeah, what was bleeding, because I have a nose ring and stuff, so I didn't know if it tore all that out of my face. Like, I had a nose strip on, it was half popped up on the one side, so I don't know if my nose
Which
was all,
people thought, so you're...
like my nose was all
yeah,
chunked out
ripped
or
off
something.
of your face. Yeah.
People were thinking I was going to have my nose, like, stitched back together and all this other stuff.
It's just the nose strip.
And, so dude's, like, talking to me, and then, yeah, I started looking around, and there's, like, a handful of other dudes that went down from the pileups, and they're, like, gathering themselves up, and they got bikes, or they're standing off the side, and I see bikes everywhere, and I'm like, I don't see a Honda anywhere. I'm like, how in the world did my bike disappear? I am least concerned about myself at this point.
As you're dripping blood down your face.
Pouring blood. Don't care at all. And I'm just mad. I was just like, where the hell's my bike? And dude's like, what? I'm like, where's my bike? And he's like, I don't know. He starts asking the other track workers where my bike's at. No one knew where my bike was. Everyone forgot that they must have pushed it across or something. Yeah.
Well, the guy
and I'm yelling over at you across the track. And I finally figure out that you got it over there. And then before all that too, the guy's talking to me. He's like, you know where you're at? And I'm like, yeah, I'm at Loretta's. I was like, it's 2024. I was like, and that was terrible. Something stupid like that. He's like, all right, yeah, you look fine in the eyes. You're good. And I'm like, all right, cool. I was like, can I go that way then? And he's like, yeah.
Across the track.
Yeah, across the track, like to the mechanics
Which
area, to like where you were standing.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, yeah, that's fine. So he like half helps me over there, which any of you guys that race, if you've gone down and you got a track worker trying to help you, it's cool. Like they're trying to like help you. They got like an arm around you. This guy's like half holding on to me. And it was like almost making it worse. So I'm like almost wanting to be like, dude, get off of me. But he gets like halfway across. He like lets me go. And then, yeah, we just like headed back. I was more pissed because I had a killer start and I was ready to go. And then here we are. We're laying on the ground.
Yeah, I think the confusion from the track workers was because the dude that brought your bike to me did not go back across the track.
Oh, yeah, that would make sense.
So he wasn't over there. So the person who gave me your bike was not over there to be like, yeah, she has your bike.
Oh, the worst part.
He like exited stage left. I don't know where he went.
The worst thing is, too, poor fucking track worker dude that's helping me. I'm like asking where my bike is. It's not like he even knows what bike I'm on. He's just like looking around like, I don't see an extra bike anywhere.
So
I don't know what this guy wants.
Yeah, they're dealing with wrecks and stuff all week. You're bleeding like out your face just profusely.
Yeah. No, I'm worried about his bike.
Yeah,
This dude probably thought I was retarded.
Yeah. So
he's like, I think this guy's all right. Maybe he did hit his head.
Probably. But yeah, so it was. I'm really glad I didn't see it happen, and I'm glad I didn't see you laying on the track, because that is like, for any of you that has someone who races that you love, that's like pit of your stomach, like kick to the gut feeling. It's not a good feeling. So by the time I got over there and like saw your bike and you were standing and realized that you were fine because you were pissed about your bike, it's like, for me, it was much less to deal with. I just dealt with the aftermath of, oh my gosh, your nose was broken.
Yeah.
It was broken. And your poor little face had like scratches. Your eyes were like,
had scratches all over my nose,
bruises and stuff.
Bruises by my eyelid, on my eyelids and stuff. And
yeah, you looked rough for sure.
My nose was like 3 times the size it should be. I look like Bert and Ernie.
I said, yeah, like a cartoon character. Like when they give a cartoon character the really big fat nose, that's what you looked like. But after we got you back, like I could tell you were coherent. You were walking back, and I didn't
even have a headache. I honestly I have no idea how, outside of that. I think he hit me low enough that he didn't fully hit me in the, like, I didn't get hit in the face.
He like grazed off of your face. I think he hit your chest. Like if you watch it, he hits your chest and it's almost like ramps off your chest and like grazes your face on the way up. I mean, it was still hard. Like
even when I stood up, like the only thing, it was really, I mean, my nose was hurting.
Yeah.
It was really swollen, which I'm super glad. I don't think it doesn't feel like the bridge of my nose broke. If anything, it's more towards the tip of my nose. So I'm hoping
I
maybe
still
it's
don't
just a
know
little bit
how.
like cartilage or something. I honestly think that maybe the way it hit, that it pushed the goggles down onto it real hard.
It's just like even
Thought for sure I was gonna have two black eyes.
yeah, as hard as you got hit, I'm even surprised that nothing else.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Ribs, nothing. Like you've had some soreness, but
yeah, I've been sore. I was definitely sore that day, like in my back, like in my ribs and my back. But it wasn't. I've gone down hard before, where I'm pretty sure I broke some ribs or like fractured some. Uh, I actually did at Briarcliff one time really bad, and I still deal with them.
yeah.
So they weren't hurting that bad. It honestly felt more just like muscle. So I was like happy for that, but it is amazing because I wear a chest protector. The thing's pretty thin though, because it's more like it's a plastic one, but it's like a roost guard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was amazed, like chest, stomach, not like all that. It barely hurt. Didn't have a headache. It was just mainly like my nose and a little banged up, little scrapes, scratches and scrapes here and there, and yeah, I mean, that night my back was a little tight and stuff when we were moving around. But overall, for how hard I got hit and everything, yeah, it's amazing, like, the little amount of stuff I walked away with.
Yeah. Someone was definitely watching out for you. Very thankful for
Yeah,
that.
I was counting my lucky stars after that one.
So it was hard too because your nose kept wanting to, like after you got it to stop bleeding, it kept wanting to bleed more. Well, I wanted to give you some ibuprofen because I knew you were going to start to get stiff. Like
Yeah.
just if you've been around moto a long time, you know, you take a spill like that, you kind of just try to get ahead of it because it's coming. So, but I didn't want to give you ibuprofen, which by the way, I had given you ibuprofen that morning before you wrecked because of your shoulder being sore. So that's probably part of the reason why you were bleeding so badly from your nose. I'm like, no more ibuprofen until we're sure the nose isn't going to bleed anymore.
Yeah, I didn't want to deal with
So
that.
then, right, so you're feeling okay, you know, get gear off, whatever, realize that, you know, somehow too, like even the exhaust, like,
My
you know,
bike's like
fine.
fine. It was like
One guard was ripped off and it broke a tab on your rear caliper.
yeah.
You just had to buy
The
a new
little
one of those.
plastic guard. I have an aluminum one on there, and it bent it and it actually broke the mounting arm
So
on
yeah.
there. So, but it was really minor. I think I spent like $150 to fix my bike.
Yeah, so like,
But the exhaust, bars, levers, like everything's straight. I mean, the front wheel is still straight, even after I KO dude's bike.
right. I don't know how that happened, but so like you were pretty much fine. The bike was fine. We kind of got cleaned up because I had another moto on Saturday. And we determined at that point in time you probably could not get goggles on your face, so you weren't racing.
Yeah, I was over it.
So over the third moto of 25, because it was also at 7:30 in the morning on Saturday.
Yeah, first moto in the morning. I'm like, no, I'm good.
So like cruising around, whatever, doing, just hanging out with friends and stuff Friday afternoon. And it was like Friday night we were hanging out with some friends, driving around on the golf cart, and one of our friends said something about going over to the beer tent. We hadn't been there all week. I'm like, I'm not a drinker. Like, I don't really need, for one, I definitely don't like beer, but like, I don't need to go to the beer tent. They're like, oh, come on. And Phil was like, well, let's go. And I was like, well, I'm like, if you're not racing and you want to go, like, honestly, you having a few drinks would probably help you sleep a little bit better after that wreck.
Yeah.
Just not being so tight. So,
I'm super thankful we did go over there.
yeah, so we headed over to the beer tent at like 9, which is hilarious that there's a beer tent at Loretta's, but there is. And it's not so much just a beer tent. It's honestly, it was like a little club.
Yeah.
Like you have to show your ID
They,
to get in.
Yeah.
They're like jamming out to music. There's like you're
They got
dancing.
like lights going.
Yeah.
And
So-
little bar area. It was really cool.
But we found a bunch more of our friends while we were there, including,
Hey, yeah, including Fowler, the dude that jumped into me, was over there too, hanging out, having a few drinks, walk around in a sling. Poor guy. I stopped and I walked up to him. I'm like, hey, thanks for jumping into me today.
yeah, as your face looks like super swollen and terrible
Yeah,
at
it
this
looks like
point.
I was just in a boxing
Yeah.
match. And he's like, oh, no, that was you? And I was like, yeah, and we were talking and stuff, and he ended up getting a 3rd-degree AC separation of his shoulder.
Yeah, so that's like where your collarbone meets with your shoulder joint. There's a little ligament right there that holds it together. A 3rd-degree separation is you tore it. It's
Yeah.
gone.
So he ended up having to have shoulder surgery. or I think he has to have surgery or had it or something. Because I actually just talked to him the other day. He said 6 to 8 weeks, which isn't terrible for all said and done. But yeah, so we ran into him there and we hung out a little bit and bullshit and had a little kind of chuckle that we were both okay and super thankful that it wasn't way worse. Because I mean, I've watched the video probably 100 times and I'm amazed. I'm sitting here, I'm walking around,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty unscathed from it. So
Yeah.
yeah, super thankful there. But yeah, we were hanging out, and then I'm like cruising around after that, and we're hanging out there, still having a couple drinks, and I run into Brett Q, who I had actually seen before that 30 moto, and I was talking to him, and I asked him, I'm like, you see that start? And he's like, yeah. I was like, that was me in it, and he's like, I thought so, and I was like, yeah, did you see the angle that Motorsport put up? And he's like, yeah, that was my video. And I was like, oh, no kidding. So he ended up airdropping it to me to my phone in the beer tent, which was awesome. I usually don't have rec videos or pictures or anything, so it was kind of cool that he gave me that video and everything, and yeah, and then we just kind of hung out with friends the rest of the night, and I had a couple drinks, and it loosened me up. And before then at night, we were in there listening to music. I was dancing around, and
The day of a crash
Yeah.
in the beer tent.
Yeah.
Dancing around that night.
and it helped out a ton. It loosened me up, and I did sleep really well that night.
Yeah.
I honestly felt pretty good the next morning. Even I was super shocked when I woke up because I thought I was gonna be stiff as a board. My neck was pretty stiff.
Yeah.
Overall, I was doing good.
So that was Saturday then. Woke up. And we didn't stay out super late because I was racing, and I don't drink.
You didn't have to race till like
3
o'clock in the afternoon, so we definitely had time to hang out, sleep in a little bit. So we didn't worry about it too much. But yeah, we didn't stay too late, but it worked out pretty good.
Yeah. So got up Saturday morning, went and watched some racing, Pro Sport Moto, and then I got geared up for Moto 3 or whatever, and I was not on purpose, but I wasn't overly looking forward to the third moto because it was just an exhausting week, and I was kind of getting to the point that I was tired, and I knew at 3 o'clock it was going to be the hottest point of the day to go race a moto, and that the track was going to be rough. So I was kind of feeling meh about the moto, and then I took a nap, and it was fine. So geared up, got up to the line and everything, and I actually got a horrible start. That's the only one, of course, that you took a video of.
I know. I'm like, oh, I'll get a couple picture or video, and I popped my phone out right before you guys took off and got that video. And yeah, you had done a nice start for the sight lap too, and then yeah, it looked like you were just sleeping on the gate.
I think I got nervous because in the rut just past the gate there was this big old hunk of something that I was afraid was going to send me right into the chick next to me. So I think that unintentionally just didn't get on it hard.
Yeah, instead of just driving through it.
Yeah, because everything was getting pretty chewed up. So wasn't my best start. Honestly, watching the video that you took, I was pretty much last. So I'm pretty stoked that pushed through the whole moto. Felt pretty good, and I jumping through the which I'm stoked on. I was jumping through the 10 Commandments the whole moto again because they were ruddier for that moto at 3 o'clock. Obviously, the faces were getting rutted. Then when I did the 8 o'clock moto and I started jumping them, so I made myself keep jumping them. Watched a couple girls eat it in front of me, which is kind of sketch, but made it through that moto, and I finished 33rd again, which I was stoked with because I didn't, I wanted to go forward. I was hoping for maybe 30, but I didn't go backwards. So
no, you rode good that moto, and I mean that moto you were consistently around girls battling most of that moto,
yeah.
And I felt like that was the best you rode, and we had finally got because that first moto of yours you had a little bit of issues with the bike handling and everything, so we had made some minor tweaks, and then by that third moto, you were finally comfortable. It was working. I could even see it watching it. I could tell it was working a lot better for you. And overall, yeah, it's you got that little bit of charge in the second moto, and it's like, even though, yeah, initially you weren't feeling it going in, but like once you got out there and were racing, like you had that charge, you were flowing, you're battling with girls, going back and forth, passing them, they're passing you, and so it was good. It was definitely a good moto overall to like end the week on.
Yeah, for sure. And there was like, there's times when I've done it before where it's like I can't find like a race intensity, or I'm not being aggressive enough with the throttle. And like I've found personally that if I yell at myself when I'm racing, like in my helmet, I'll just start yelling at myself. It helps. Like I've told you so many, I need to. Like for some reason, like, I mean, I'm competitive that I want to do well, but it's never been like ingrained in me to be like super competitive and aggressive. So like, yeah, I kind of have to like make myself mad or amp myself up or something to like get myself going. So it's not so hard when there's other girls around me that I'm racing with, but like you kind of get stuck in a little spot on your own and you're just racing, and I've got to remind myself, like, use your freaking legs. Like,
you gotta go.
Yeah, hold on with your legs. Sometimes I'll be like, go, 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 like coming out of a corner to like make myself get on the gas harder. So just kind of funny. But yeah, so that was a good moto for me. And that was pretty much the end of it, because I was third moto from the end, so a couple more motos left. Yeah, so that was kind of a wrap on our racing at Loretta's. I held it strong for Team Harris.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's thankful one of the Harrises made all the motos.
Yeah, I went 39, 33, 33, which put me 36th overall. So I'm really not at all mad about it. Plenty of room for improvement. And
First
honestly,
time ever.
Yeah, for my first time, like I can't complain at all. Like it was just.
I was super stoked you got to do it.
Me too.
Honestly, a big reason we've even tried, and I've tried over the last few years, is more so to give you the opportunity. Shoot, even leading into the beginning of this year, I was like so on even doing qualifiers, and then we did qualifiers and then regionals, and yeah, and then we ended up making it. And it was cool for me too. Like, it's been 19 years since I've been down, and it was definitely it was cool because there was like things that were the same, and then there was definitely things that were way different after all these years and stuff. Like the track itself, like I was saying, all the different consistency in dirt. When I used to race down there years ago, like early 2000s, it was always just clay with like a little bit of mulch mixed in, so it was consistent through the whole track.
Yeah, it's not.
It stayed a lot harder because we were all on 2 strokes. Even when the 4 strokes, like my last year there, I raced a class called 4-stroke.
Yeah.
Because there were
so few of them still. Yeah, yep. I remember those days.
So
for sure.
Like a lot more hard pack, and I mean you get choppy and ruddy, but it was totally different. Like now I will say that's probably on the amateur level, that is the closest thing you will ever get to riding a pro national.
Yeah, well, I actually got to ride a pro national track at High Point for the parade lap for the women's class.
Yeah, so you got to see how gnarly it is.
Yeah. Loretta's was at least rideable.
Yeah.
High Point was muddy, though. But so I will tell you, I'm sorry to say that after going once, though, I'm just hungry to, like, make it directly in from a regional, and I want to go back, so I hope you do, too.
I do. I actually have had a few people ask me, like, oh, man, like, do you have any intention of going back after all that and stuff? And honestly, I really do. I even had kind of said something to you Saturday before your moto when we were watching some other motos.
Yeah, we're still there, so your wreck is fresh.
Yeah, and I was already like, I had told you I was kind of mad that my face was all busted up because I wanted to be able to ride. I wanted to ride, like I was itching to ride already. Yeah, I do have drive to go back. I want to get some redemption because it was not at all the year I was looking for. And I mean, even if I wouldn't have met like some of the goals I had set myself before the week, I still, I still should have had a little better week than we did. So yeah, I want to get some redemption, and it was cool like to do it again and get to remember like how special that event is. It's just totally different. Like it's like a whole little city for a whole week.
And
a week and a half or whatever.
Just totally immersed in motocross culture, motocross everything.
Like nothing else feels like it's going on in the world but dirt bikes.
So like aside from the racing, like just what an incredible experience, like meeting different people.
Yeah,
and
I was gonna say the same thing. We met some really cool people there.
yeah, like new friends. You catch up with people you haven't seen in a while. Like you're literally there just, hanging out with the people. Like there's so many like of the women riders now that I've seen several times this year between qualifiers, regionals, that High Point round I did, that now these girls are like, I know them and they're getting to know me. So now I like have friends when we go to these bigger races. And we never did like, the bigger races when I was younger. We always did local stuff. So I had local friends, but like having where's Nikki from? Vermont?
Yeah.
I've got a friend from Vermont. I've got a friend from Oklahoma, Texas, like just these girls all over the place that like when we all come together for these big events, like it's cool. They're like, hey, Ashley. I'm like, hey, what's up? Like, it's fun to be there. It's fun to experience. Like, we didn't actually go to the river until later on in the week, which I'm like, why did we wait so long? Like that was a really cool part of the experience too. We didn't spend a lot of time in it, but man, it was nice when we did.
Yeah, if you guys that are listening to this, if you've never been to Loretta's and you ever make it down there or you go down there to watch, whatever it may be, go to the river. It is a life saver.
When you're feeling hot, like you can't get out of it, just go put your feet in the river.
Yeah, it's a natural flowing river, so it stays pretty cool. I mean, you get a lot of people in it, but still it stays pretty cool, so it's almost like getting a little ice bath after your moto.
Just don't sit downstream from the people that have been in it all day, because
yeah, you get your little groups of guys that have been sitting out there all day drinking, so they're probably not getting up.
Yeah, but one thing even about that, like I've had a couple of check-ins with some of our riders since we've been back this week, and multiple have said that watching us go down there and like post about it and stuff has kind of reignited a fire in them. Like we work with a lot of older riders, not older like, like I'm talking like 20 to 40-year-old range, like that these people are now saying like, oh, like it makes me want to go so bad. Like, and I tell them, I'm like, try for it, go for it. Like the one girl that I talked to, she's like, well, I kind of always felt like now that I'm an adult, like, oh, it's more for the kids. I'm like, it's not for the kids at all. The vet classes are some of the most competitive classes. And then with the women's class, I mean, I think it's 12 plus. I'm pretty sure it's 12 plus. So like,
yeah, it is.
I raced with a girl who was racing the girls class as well. So
a few of them.
Yeah, they might be 14, 15 years old. I also raced with a woman that was 50 and she got fucking top 20. So like, there's no age limit on Loretta's. There's no like saying like, oh, well, it's more for the kids. It's not. Like, if you want to go, be it to race, be it to experience the event, like, for one, don't complain about how much money it costs to go, because if you're complaining about it, just don't even bother. It is expensive. I'm not going to lie. But it is literally one of the coolest motocross experiences I've ever had in my lifetime. Like, so much so that, like, we're going to figure out how to go again, and hopefully for many years to come. Because it's just fun. It's cool.
Yeah, it is a really cool event. Just everything that they do, like, even outside of, like, the racing and riding and all that, just the different little, not every night, but some nights, they have like music and they have opening ceremonies early in the week. And then for the kids, they do like a little, because there's like an on-track homeschooling thing, they do a little prom and then there's a graduation for them. And
they had a freestyle show where Twitch and...
Freestyle show the one night. There was like one night it was just, they had a DJ up there, it was just like a big jam out session.
They did down at the beach. They had little fires, and there was a night with s'mores.
Oh, yeah, s'mores.
We went down and got s'mores. The marshmallows had Husqvarna logos on them. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. They had Ryan Dungey hanging out down there
with
his family, making s'mores with everyone. So super cool. And yeah, it's just neat. They definitely try to make it a vacation outside of the race too, like for everybody.
And it is.
And the parents and
it absolutely is. Like even if I wouldn't have got to race this year, which I was okay with that. Like at the beginning of this year when we were like, let's do some qualifiers, I'm like, I'm okay even if I'm just there to support you and whatever riders we have there. Like, cool. Even if you're not racing, like, it's just the coolest like vacation to take. If you love dirt bikes, if you like dirt bikes, it's a cool vacation to take.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Chaotic.
Worth going.
Yeah, it might be chaos at times, but it's fun for sure.
Control chaos.
Yeah, so I will say too, a big piece of what I was thinking about, like with training our riders, is now
we have that experience.
Yeah, and very recent experience, obviously. So, like, I know if I'm, like, working with someone on the nutrition side, like, I know what I ate all week, and the fact that some days I didn't want to eat real food, so I had smoothies ready to eat for lunch because I didn't want a sandwich, you know what I mean? So, like, from the nutrition point, how do we get in enough food during the week to make sure you have fuel? From a workout standpoint, how do we pair workouts, you know, in addition to riding to make sure we're ready for the longer motos in possibly 115-degree heat? Like, it just, the experience of it, getting to be there and race it, like, it's just, it is very eye-opening and will be super helpful when I get to work with, you know, more people in that capacity in the future. And, like, for you too, because, I mean, you're an official coach with Shred MX now too, so, like, you have your own riders, and it's really good for both of us.
Yeah, I mean, it's like info and everything that you can't get without being there.
You're right.
It's just, you got to have the experience of doing it. And, yeah, I'm super thankful that we were able to do it this year, and it worked out that way. It was a good time.
Absolutely, it was. So all in all, 3 weeks. We left to come back home from Loretta's on Sunday morning.
Yeah, we just decided after your late moto,
Yeah.
clean up a little bit. We'll do some hanging out. We talked the golf cart company into letting us keep our golf cart one more night because we were supposed to turn it in Saturday, but we were parked right across from them, and the guy had actually been super nice to us the whole time. We had talked to him early in the week too. He was super cool, and he's like, yeah, no big deal. He's like, just pull it over here under the tent when you guys are done with it. He's like, we'll be back in the morning and whatever. So we were like, all right. So we got to cruise around one more night and
Yeah.
just take it all in one last time before we rolled out of there. Yeah, the next morning.
Yeah.
And made our trek back, our shortest drive of the whole trip.
Well, yeah, 8 hours.
Yeah,
To most
we had
people.
14, 15 down to Florida,
Always,
11
yeah.
to Loretta's, and then 8 home.
Yes, I think it ended up being about 3,000 miles round trip. That's roughly with even like the Okeechobee trip and everything, which was almost 3 hours south of Pax. So about 3,000 miles round trip, 3 weeks. It was probably one of the best vacations, adventures I've had.
Yeah, it was a good time. We've been back home for about a week now, and I'm ready to pack up and roll again.
Which we are. So just talking about what's next, because usually we share that on our podcast too. This weekend, tomorrow, we're doing a girls' ride day at a local track, Battlesburg MX in Waynesburg, Ohio. So it's not girls only, which this is actually, I'd love to do like the girls only training clinics, but again, it's very hard to get these tracks to close for the day to let us do them. Even if we're renting them, I get it. So different angle, I am working with a local track, and they're going to let us do it. Shout out Stephanie, she rides. Her dad owns the track, so that was a good in there. But to just do a women's only session during the open practice. So like tomorrow we're going to do, the practice is 10 to 4, starting at 11 at the top of every hour. I think we're going to do a 15-minute women's only session. That way the girls who might be a little bit timid to ride on a track with a bunch of dudes that are shredding around, like, it's just girls. Like, yeah, we're all different skill levels, but generally we're, you know, a lot more cautious, and we all know that we're going to be out there. So, like, just be a little bit more aware of your surroundings. So, should just be a really nice event. We got a bunch of stuff to give away. Some sponsors of that: Guts Racing, Vert, MX Graphics, Smooth Speed, Shred MX. We threw some stuff in, ordered some fun stuff from Rocky Mountain to give away, raffle it off at the end. Sunstar, Fly, all throwing in some goodies. So we're going to set up our tent and raffle some stuff off to the girls at the end of the day tomorrow. And then talking about packing up and traveling again, next weekend is Redbud Vet Fest that we will be attending.
Yep. And then the following week after that
is Ironman.
Is Ironman for the last national and another WMX round.
Yeah.
Like what we did at High Point for you. So, yeah, I honestly, before we had left, thought, oh, after Loretta's we'll get home, we'll have a little chill time, downtime. Nope, it's like a whole nother month of just go, go, go.
Yeah, but we've kind of, at some point in time, personally, I've realized that, like, I enjoy that. Like, the wide open, on the go, on the road, doing what we love. I love that. And when we don't have that, when we do have, like, a whole down weekend,
weird.
Yeah, we're like lost. Like, and then we end up at a stupid store spending money on crap we don't even need. I'm like, we should have just went and rode our dirt bikes.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we would have probably spent less money.
Yeah. So the other thing that came up on our radar recently that we're planning on attending is the
New Red Bull Day in the Dirt
East at High
Point.
Point.
Yeah.
And it's our anniversary weekend in October. Our anniversary is the 10th. It's like the 11th and 12th. 13th? It's that weekend, whatever's the weekend after.
Around there.
So we're planning on doing that. Also, while we were at Loretta's, Phil told me, he's like, I'm ready for mini-O's. So we're planning on mini-O's. So
I know you've been bugging me for a while about mini-O's.
yeah.
And I did it a bunch when I was a kid, and that place is a little bit of it's been always like a little bit tough, but yeah, I don't know, after being at like a big race, a big event like that again, and like you were saying, like seeing friends and stuff, I got to see a lot of people that I haven't seen in a long time that I knew from doing those races when I was a kid and everything. So it was really cool to be in that atmosphere, and so it kind of lit the fire under me that's like, okay, if we can swing it, let's try to do like mini-O's this year and everything. So yeah, we're trying to do a little bit of the bigger stuff, and also be good, experience that if we get kids that we're training or adults, whatever it may be, and they're looking to do those events too, like we'll have the experience. We can help them, like, this is what you're going to expect, this is what you're going to run into, like,
yeah.
So I think that'd be really beneficial for us and for the company.
I agree, and that's kind of the idea behind it, especially like running a business that's so directly involved in moto. Like, we got to be at these big events. It's a good excuse, but
it's a good way to we got to keep the name.
Yeah.
Good events to keep the name at too.
Yes, so it's a good excuse for us to go, but it's also a very good reason to go. So
yeah.
That's just kind of loose plans. Like I said, I knew this one was going to be a little bit longer. We had to take a pause break in the middle there, but yeah, so that was our 3-week adventure. I loved every minute of it, and I am not overly stoked to be home, sitting at home. I'd just rather be adventuring, but more on that to come.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening, guys. Hopefully the next one is sooner than, another month away, but sometimes life just gets away from us. So stay tuned.
It should be a little sooner than a month with everything we got going on. So
yeah,
we'll have some recaps coming up here real soon.
Yeah, and we are still looking for some riders on our roster. I know I talked to a couple of you at Loretta's. If you're interested, let us know. Get signed up sooner rather than later. One other thing I will say, if it is now on your goals to make it to Loretta's, do not wait until next year to start.
No,
you need to at least
start. You need to start now.
Yeah, absolutely you should, especially
at least a little bit.
Getting yourself in shape and learning the nutrition side of it, because getting yourself to Loretta's is one thing, but doing well down there is a whole nother ball game.
Yeah.
So decide what your goals are now and start putting the plan into place. Figure out what you need to do and do that daily. Do it every day. So, but yeah.
Yeah, guys, keep grinding out there.
Yeah, keep grinding and stay tuned for the next one.
Yep. Thanks for listening.